Dr. Cowden, so now that we're not limited to time, I would love for you to share the latest information as far as testing goes. How do we know that we don't have dementia? Because I saw that 30% of people that are diagnosed with, or 70% of people that are diagnosed with dementia don't have it. So,
well, yeah. So when I was in medical school, the average age of onset of dementia was between 55 and 60. Okay. Now we're finding many adults developing dementia at 28 years of age. 28 years of age. Okay. So what's changed? More toxins, more electromagnetic fields, less quality nutrition. So many factors have changed in that 30 years, 40 years since I graduated medical school, 40 years now. So we have a major problem if we don't do something about the environment that we live in. I intentionally live 30 miles from the closest town, half a mile from the closest neighbor, so that I don't have electromagnetic pollution during the day.
Wow.
Okay. Now, anybody can get, even in a big city, can get to where they have no significant amount of electromagnetic pollution during the night. They can buy a German metallized cloth canopy to put over their bed, but that's about $1,000. But it's a huge investment, but it's the most valuable investment a city dweller probably will ever make. And
how do we know that stuff works, Dr. Cowden?
Oh, because I have meters to measure it all.
So where can we get a meter?
It's at Home Depot. I got a meter. I measured I didn't really believe the wireless cell phone more so than some other gadgets I had in there, like my TV. I thought it'd be much more higher EMS, but that wireless phone, in my house, it went right up there, more than my cell phone, unless my cell phone was inactive. I couldn't believe the wireless phone was so high on the EMF meter.
Yeah, so cordless phones are
cordless phones. That you got? What is the meter that you got?
Just like a meter, EMF reading meter. It reads radiation. It reads radiation. It reads microwaves. It reads multiple different things.
Yeah, I think the most cost-efficient meter for people to buy their listing would be Acousticom 2.
Acousticom?
ACOUSTICOM-2. Acousticom 2. But, that will measure the high-frequency radiation. Most meters don't measure high frequency and low frequency both. They measure one or the other. You can buy a low frequency meter for about $35 online. If you go to lessemf.com, there's one source of those low cost meters for low frequency detection.
Okay, so I'm back to the Acousticom. Is it 2 or a tube?
Acousticom 2 is it after 1.
Lily's never leaving her home now, Dr. Cowden. I hope you're happy.
Okay, and the other one for the lower
It's a dangerous world out there.
How much is an Acousticom 2?
Acousticom 2 you can buy on lessemf.com as well.
Lessemf.com.
You can also buy the metallized cloth canopy to put over your bed there. They have a TP version for a king-size bed for about $700. They have a box design canopy that goes over your bed for about $1,000. But but that's an extremely valuable investment if you live in the city. There's no way to shield yourself from this stuff that we're all getting exposed to. The most recent scary adventure of the wireless world is the organization. I'm not going to say the name of them online, but an organization that's contracting with airlines to put Wi-Fi broadcasters on airplanes to broadcast it to the ground. So their goal is to have worldwide Wi-Fi. Okay, that means we're all going to be zapped. There's no way to get around it unless you have it. Even me, 30 miles away from the closest town, I'm going to have a canopy back over my bed.
Yeah.
And we talked about this before our last show, Dr. Cowden, how the stress of fear, because there are a lot of things out there, and I don't even want to think about it. I know that there's a woman in nearby. She painted her entire house, or her business. She had painted her entire business in a black paint that apparently protects the EMFs from coming in.
Well, yeah, there's Y shield paint that you can paint
It wasn't black. I visualized it black.
It's kind of a gray color. It's kind of an ugly color, but Y shield paint, you have to have two coatings of that, and then over that you put color of your choice. So that's what she did. You don't want gray. Gray is a color of death. Black and gray are colors of death. So you don't want to wear those. You don't want to have those on your walls. But you want to have color, lively colors. The healthiest color probably for a wall most people don't like, but that would be a shade of green of some type. Okay, but you say, well, why is green so healthy? Well, look outside. What do you see? Most places around the globe, you see green, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, I could take it to at whatever nth degree. I mean, honestly, because they're just amping it up to 5G. There'll be 7.5, whatever, and then you have to kind of regroup. But I honestly think for my protection, the best protection I could ever have is my belief in God, and that, you know, and that heals. It's scalar energy. It's needed healing. And I think that is the ultimate belief. And I think we're probably being pushed collectively, if we want, into the direction where we can't handle outside of ourselves anymore. And we have to go within for our own understanding of healing and connecting to God, you know.
What do you say to that, Dr. Cowden?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that Tim's right that we're heading toward a time when the only protection that we will have is the creator of the universe. And so many people get religiosity confused with spirituality. Religiosity is very complex. It's created by men and women primarily, and it's the source of most of the major wars. Religiosity. So how good is that? Spirituality, on the other hand, is very simple. Only a few components. There's the belief in the Creator. There's unconditional love. There's forgiveness towards self and others. There is mercy and grace, which are kind of versions of forgiveness and gratitude. So there's 6 primary components. You know, so it doesn't have to be complicated. And you know, if we express gratitude to the Creator, to people that do things for us, not on Thanksgiving every year, but when it happens, as it happens, express the gratitude. And I teach patients every night before they go to bed, do the following. Forgive your body and your mind for what it didn't do for you today the right way. Thank your body body and mind for what it did do for you the right way that day. And thank the Creator for helping your body and your mind to do what it did for you that day. So three simple statements before you go off to sleep.
You know, and I know that this is off topic and perhaps maybe not necessarily, but I just want to share that this is where I'm at with my spirituality at this point in my life. And it started probably about 5 years ago that I realized that religion kind of divided me from the world. It divided me from my Muslim brothers and sisters, my Hindu brothers and sisters, and so I started worshiping with all denominations. I broke down the wall of religion, and I actually do a series on that, and just recently was asked not to do it anymore. It's the first time I've ever been censored. But anyway, from there, I realized that, you know, in Scripture it says I can do all things with God who gives me strength, right? I believe that God is in me because God is everywhere. God resides in me. And because God resides in me, I believe I can heal through that power that is living in me. So since I believe that with all of my cells, all of my being, do I need that protection? Because I truly believe what I'm just telling you, that God is in me.
Yeah. I mean, there was a play that our high school class did in my last year of high school, and it was Our Town by Thornton Wilder. And in that play, a small girl is addressing an envelope, and she addresses it the following way: to whoever it was, Our Town, USA, Earth, Milky Way Galaxy, solar system, Milky Way galaxy, universe, mind of God. Okay? So if you think about it that way, then we are all part of God, because God, according to the Word, He spoke us into existence. So He is everywhere, and we're just part of that creation.
And Lily, I'm so glad you shared that, because my kind of journey has been more so from the general, more to specific. Like I've been, I see now more things in vibration and frequency, everything, even religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs, and where now I'm like, there's something to this etheric. I don't call it Christ, but Christ energy, whatever you want to describe. But there's something, I believe, from my experiences, there's something to this etheric, living Christ energy. That's as far as I'll go to define that. Because if I could think I go any further than that, then I get religious, or I start, dividing out. But I think there's this specific frequency that's very powerful. It's probably more powerful than any other frequency out there. And I think that, to me, I could wrap my mind around of incorporating myself in that, and maybe using the word Christ turns people off, or maybe it's not the right word to use. This energetic energy that's created, the cosmos, right? In my opinion, but I won't go any further than that. And then I'll upset certain Christians, I'll upset certain Buddhists, I'll upset whatever, because I think once I start defining it, I lose its meaning.
No, I just call it spirit.
I could feel it.
Just call it spirit. It's just spirit, because I really believe that the universe, God, the creator, our creator, is so big that we're not the only, we don't, as Christians, we're not the only ones that hold that key. I think that Muhammad maybe held the key for the Muslims, and Gandhi held the key for, the Hindus. We all have that key. It's all in us. And I believe that we all have that power. We're all sons and daughters.
I think we're all united. We just define it differently from our perspective of the prism of truth.
Yeah. So Dr. Cowden, with that belief system, and what we're really talking about is what we believe, because right now I know someone who's not allowed to seek medical advice because they believe that the church, that the universe will, or the God will heal you. She's dying, but she doesn't know if she's dying or not, because she won't go get not even a diagnosis, because her religion forbids it. So in a situation like that, what can we do? What can we do as far as expanding our beliefs to heal our body? You talked about how important this is, and I'm going to start doing that every night.
No, you're going to do that before every meal and before every bedtime for 4 minutes, for 4 minutes every time, 4 minutes, 4 times a day. And you can stop doing it when you don't want to be healthy anymore.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you do this 4 times a day?
Yes. Before every meal, before every bedtime.
How did you hear about that? How did you learn this?
The Creator taught me.
Got it. Okay. I'm not going to argue with that one, because
I think Dr. Cowden, and you get to know him more, Lily, he even Jesus said, lesser of you will do much more, and you will heal, and he's a healer, and the people that he's around are healers. It's just been a remarkable experience for me just to experience that from the periphery, and you help incorporate stuff into your own belief system. I mean, what I believe now will be different perhaps in 5 years from now, or more tuned, or whatever it may be. But I think as long as we stay open-minded and light on our feet, and to understand like that unconditional love feeling, whatever that may be, that's the most important piece. And I think whether it's Christ or whatever definition you want to answer or throw at it, will seep in. It can't help not to. That's a frequency. That's the frequencies it's attracted to.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just want to say, I just did a speech in Bahamas about the power of belief, the power to heal, and the power to fail. And it was all about that, of us knowing and believing, and our belief is everything. I mean, it's from the placebo to the nocebo effect, to even like we put all the power into supplements, or even into integrated doctors. That's not even real. I mean, real, it's our belief, what we do. And if we could claim that power back, and I do believe the spiritual healing, spiritual medicine is the end journey of this medical model that we're creating around us and stepping stoning towards it. I think that really is the ultimate. And I think we're being pushed into that because of the chaos out there in the world. And I think it's a great thing. You know?
And I'd like to hear from Dr. Cowden. How do we, people who are just set in their beliefs, move towards the belief that all is possible and that we can heal our bodies?
Well, yeah, so many people that you meet are very closed-minded. You know, so they believe that they know everything. So that's what we call arrogance. And arrogance is deadly. So you can choose to believe that you know everything, but I recognize that I know very little, and sometimes what I thought I knew later becomes something, incorrect. You know, we learn new things. We say, "Oh, I thought I was right about that, but I'm not right about that." We know that medical knowledge, for example, doubles. Allopathic medical knowledge doubles every 4 years on average. Integrative medical knowledge doubles every 2 to 3 years. So,
Wow.
So whatever we thought was right in integrative medicine 2 to 3 years ago is now proven to be wrong. Okay, and a doctor that had been with a large university medical school up in the Northeast gave a lecture to the graduating medical students, and he said, "Doctors, I have 2 pieces of information to share with you today." He says, half of what we taught you in the last 4 years is wrong. Okay, she said, but doctors, even worse, we don't know which half.
Oh boy.
And so what he's referring to is that medical knowledge doubling every 4 years. Okay, so we have to, first thing we have to do is realize that nobody knows everything. And we have to keep an open mind. One of my colleagues said years ago, "Lee, your mind is so open, at some point your brains are just going to fall out on the ground." But I think that there's certain things that we come to know because of repeated experience, and that doesn't matter what science tells us in the future. We know from our experience that is so, and it won't be changed. But then there's certain things that science tells us, and science finds other stuff. Science is just a study of knowledge. And we know that, for example, 89% of all allopathic pharmaceutical trials for cancer drugs are later proven to be not reproducible. 89% are later proven to not be reproducible. Of all pharmaceutical studies together, 68% are later proven to not be reproducible at all. Okay.
Wow.
Of all pharmaceutical studies. So we're hanging our hat on that. I think that's a bad idea.
Just recently, there've been an attack on the holistic and functional integrative community when it comes to cancer. They were saying that, that the models, that's in PubMed.gov about chemotherapy being 2.1% survival rate. There's they're attacking that research that was done 20 years ago. They're saying that chemotherapy, radiation, and all this has improved quite a bit. So when you hear something like this 89% of the cancer studies can't be duplicable. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Duplicated. Yeah. Then where do you show them this stuff? Because they're saying
the two things I just quoted came from Nature, which is the most respected journal in the world. Nature, okay, it's a peer-reviewed journal. Okay, so I make sure that what I quote has good science behind it.
Good. Where can we? Nature.com or nature.gov or?
No. Nature.com, I think, is for one of those, but there's different divisions of the Nature magazine, and so one of them is from one of the divisions, but one of them is the Nature magazine itself. Okay, so I don't know if I can pull that up right now, but if you find a research that has not been reproduced yet, then don't quote it, because you don't know whether it's true or whether it's not true. Mm-hmm. If you're gonna quote something, find it, make sure that it's been reproduced at least once, and then it's probably true. In ancient Hebrew tradition, if one person said it so, it might be so. If 2 people said it so, it's probably so. If 3 people said it so, it's so. Okay. Now, so that's the reproduction twice, right? Now, you can't apply that if 3 people say it's so in this country, unfortunately now, because there's so many pathological liars in this country.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that there's, between 2001 and 2011, there was a 1,300% increase in peer-reviewed article retractions. In other words, they were forced to retract the article from the journal, even though there was only a 44% increase in the number of journals published. Okay, 1,300% retractions, forced retractions. Okay, so that means they're lying, and they're forced to pull a lie out of the journal. Okay.
Wow.
So that's the present state of science. Now, in 1996, 5 brilliant physicians, 2 from UK, 2 from US, 1 from Canada, got together and wrote an article on evidence-based medicine. And they said evidence-based medicine requires 3 components. The first component is the scientific literature. But they said the scientific literature applies to populations. It does not necessarily apply to an individual, because individuals are not populations. Individuals are individuals. And so if you apply something that's intended for a population to an individual, you could be dead wrong for that patient.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
No pun intended. Now, if they said that the second component was the clinical experience of the practitioner, they said that trumps scientific literature. If a clinician has experience dealing with a condition that's the same as the patient that's sitting in front of them, they should go with that rather than what's published in the peer-reviewed literature. Okay? If they have positive outcome from previous patients, then they should do that. My example would be treating congestive heart failure and cardiomyopathy. The standard of care for cardiomyopathy, if a patient's ejection fraction, left ventricular ejection fraction is 15% or less, is to put the patient on the heart transplant list, put the patient on some pharmaceutical drugs, and hope that they live long enough for somebody to have a brain death so the heart can be harvested to do a transplant.
Wow.
That has the same blood type and HLA type. Now, since 1990, I've reversed over 24 cases of advanced cardiomyopathy with no invasive procedures.
What do you use, Dr. Cowden?
Diet change, lifestyle change, supplemental nutrients, coenzyme Q10, carnitine, D-ribose, magnesium, proteolytic enzymes are the most important nutrients. But water throughout the day to detoxify their body. Metal binders, absolutely critically important.
Metal binders, chelation or fiber?
Well, you can bind some metals with fiber, but there's other things that'll bind metals more avidly than that, like chlorella will bind metals more avidly than most fibers. And but I use quantum imprinted remedies to shake loose from the cells the heavy metals. But anyway, Journal of American College of Cardiology, 1999 found that when they did biopsies on the hearts of patients with cardiomyopathy, they had 22,000 times greater mercury content than patients that had coronary artery disease. Okay, and what I found that you have to do with all patients with cardiomyopathy is resolve the brokenheartedness that they all have. If you don't resolve the brokenheartedness, the physical toxins won't leave. If you don't resolve the physical toxins, the microbes won't leave. If you don't resolve the microbes, the white cells that are causing inflammation and damage to the heart muscle continue on. So you have to resolve the brokenheartedness to get rid of the toxins, to get rid of the microbes, to get rid of the inflammation, to get rid of the cardiomyopathy. So I have patients that had ejection fractions less than 15% that now have ejection fractions of 50 to 60%, which is close to normal. And it can do anything they want to do. They can climb a mountain. They can jog every day. They can work 12-hour days. Whatever they want to do, without any limitation. So if I did the standard of care for a patient with cardiomyopathy, then I would be doing that patient a disservice because I know something better than what's published in the peer-reviewed literature.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In that 1996 article, Evidence-Based Medicine, the doctors said patient preferences trump everything. I'll give you an example. A patient that's a Jehovah's Witness goes into the emergency room with a gastrointestinal bleed and a hemoglobin of 5, and any emergency room doctor says, the literature says this patient must be transfused. My experience says this patient must be transfused, but the patient does not get transfused because the patient's preferences trump.
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that unfortunately, most doctors in allopathic medicine chose to ignore the second and the third points in that article. They said, well, scientific literature is everything. No, it is not. That article says you should never use scientific literature to trump, okay? Because if the patient preferences or the clinical experience of the practitioner says that you should do something different than what the scientific literature says, then don't do what the scientific literature says.
Isn't that because of the power of belief? That person believes it to be true, and that's more powerful than anything else?
The power of belief is very powerful, and you see it can cause life or it can cause death. Larry Dossey wrote a book about 20 years ago called Healing Words, and it's a compilation of the peer-reviewed research literature showing how prayer can reverse advanced cardiovascular disease conditions and advanced cancer conditions in a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled fashion. Okay?
Yeah, it reminds me of the woman, the person I know that is limited to her religious belief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So there's so many religions that teach things to the people that are part of that religion that are probably not God's instruction to that person.
Without
okay,
Yeah.
It is just men and women's instruction to that person. So that person then has to decide: are they going to listen to God? Are they going to listen to the men and women that created that religion?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, if they make a choice to listen to the men and women, they may not make it. Okay? But my belief is that the Creator can and often does speak to all of us. Not necessarily with words that we hear with our ears, but words that we hear with our mind or with our heart.
Mm-hmm.
And if we get that clear, strong feeling that we've had a communication from the Creator, and we focus on that thought, that feeling, and the more we focus on it, the more peace we have, that is a communication from the Creator, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Totally agree.
Because the darkness of this world cannot give us peace. Only the Creator can give us peace.
Got it. Just this last week, I was interviewing Dr. Andrew Saul of Food Matters. He's really big in supplements and vitamins, and I had an email that they wanted me to ask him about prostate health. A lot of men, we talk about generic things like diabetes, dementia affects men and women, but men uniquely have a prostate. Women don't. So I wanted to address the prostate health issues. What do you recommend? This particular person that had written to me not only had a high PSA level, they had done biopsy after biopsy and it's all negative. And now they're experiencing, and when I say high PSH, it was like a 9. And everything came out negative. And then just recently, he said he was experiencing frequent urination. Now, he's being checked by an allopathic doctor, and they put him on Flomax. Yeah.
So I would say this: the best advice for most men that are aging that have a prostate is to stay away from the urologist.
Totally agree.
Okay.
Totally agree. Okay.
And the reason is that we know that by the time that you're 50 years old, as a man in the United States, you have a 50% chance of having prostate cancer in situ. That means cancer restricted to your prostate. By the time you're 70 years old, a 70% chance. By the time you're 90 years old, a 90% chance. And if you make it to 100 years old, a 100% chance.
Okay.
So we also know from the literature, from the peer-reviewed literature, that you're more likely to die you're more likely to die with the cancer than from the cancer if you don't see a urologist. Okay.
You got to play the odds, Lily. You got to play the odds.
I like the odds. Okay, so let's go with what can that person take instead of Flomax, and how to reduce the size of the prostate.
The symptoms you described probably came because of all those punctures of the prostate, and that is the exemplification of what I'm saying. If a man gets a prostatectomy, they have a high probability of developing either urinary incontinence, stool incontinence, or impotence, and sometimes all three. So that's a great thing to happen, right? If we know that you're more likely to die with prostate cancer than from prostate cancer, just statistically speaking, why would you do any of those things? The doctor that developed the PSA test grieves every day that he developed that test. He said, I wish I had not developed that test, because urologists are using it to do unnecessary surgeries and interventions, invasive interventions. So he says, I wish I'd never developed the test. Now, Dr. A.V. Costantini in Italy found that essentially every man with prostate cancer had nothing but a fungal infection in their prostate, causing the PSA elevation.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So how do you alleviate the fungal one?
Well, you have to get rid of all the sugar and starch in the diet for about 8 to 10 weeks. And during that time, take the right remedies that will go into the prostate to kill the bug. Now, the right remedies can be herbal. Sometimes we use pharmaceuticals, but herbal more often than pharmaceuticals.
What's a good herbal?
Podiarco is a good herbal. That's a bark off a South American tree. Kumanda is a good herbal. It's a bark off a different South American tree. Tangarana is another good herbal, another bark off another South American tree. Basically, if you want to get rid of prostate cancer, go back to eating bushes.
So no sugar, no starch. So that means no potatoes. Well,
no fruit, no fruit juices, no sugars of any type, no grains, no root vegetables, no vinegar products, no alcoholic beverages. All those things feed fungus. So you have to stay away from those things for 8 to 10 weeks while you take the right remedy to get rid of the bug. You have to get rid of the toxins that are in the prostate that stimulate the growth of the bug in the first place. The prostate is the most dependent part of the pelvis, so that's where the heavy metals and a lot of the other toxins accumulate. Mercury, lead, arsenic, aluminum, cadmium, nickel, pesticides, herbicides, solids are all in the prostate. So if you do a infrared therapy, you can actually mobilize a lot of those toxins out. I use both body-wide infrared therapy as well as focal infrared therapy to get the toxins out of the prostate.
What's focal? I mean, I bought the infrared sauna, but what's the focal?
Focal, the least expensive focal device on the market is the Phoenix 48 LED device that you can buy off of Amazon, that's intended to shine an infrared light on the burglars in your yard at night, so that you can take a picture of them. But we use it for driving the toxins out of the prostate also.
Can I ask you a question? Because I think that's one question I get a lot by the people who ask me questions about infrared saunas and why the infrared. What does the infrared do actually to the toxins, the metals that are coming in from land, sea, and the sky?
Well, a lot of different things happen with infrared, but one of the things that happens is a stimulation of the nitric oxide synthase. That's a enzyme in the body that produces nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is an arterial and arteriolar vasodilator. So it dilates the blood vessels that go into the tissues, and when the blood flow is enhanced into a tissue, it carries the toxins away from the tissues. Infrared light also shakes loose from the cells the toxins that are inside the cells, and to move them to the space outside the cell, which is called the mesenchyme, or the ground matrix, or the interstitial matrix. From there, if you're doing lymphatic work, you can carry the toxins from the ground matrix, interstitial matrix, into the lymphatic vessels, and then back to the central circulation, where the central circulation pumps those toxins through the kidneys, urinary bladder, and into the toilet, or through the liver, the gallbladder, into the bowel, and into the toilet. So I wouldn't watch my time here, but I got a hard.
I know. I just realized that we're keeping you here. Thank you so much, Dr. Cowden, for everything that you do, and I'm looking forward to our next conversation. And Tim, thank you for being my partner in truth.
Always looking forward to the next show.
That's right, Integrative Seniors. Thank you.
The one that you said earlier in the show, the partner in crime, it's only if you're being looked at by the FDA.
You're funny. Okay, thank you for that. Let's end in laughter because it could be such a serious world. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you, my viewing friends, next time. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. Take
Bye-bye.
care.